What I love about tequila is that it's a spirit rooted in centuries of tradition and ancestry. Many distilleries have been owned and operated by the same family for generations. One of the oldest names in the history of making tequila is the Orendain family. The Orendain family has always prioritized quality over quantity, as it is evident in their tequila. They follow a rich history of preserving the original artisanal practices and continue the family legacy of the highest quality of tequila.
I'm Jeff. I just retired from the military, sold everything I own, and now I'm traveling around the world to learn from brewers, winemakers, distillers, and tell their story. This is my journey of beer, wine, and spirits.
My name is Eduardo Orendain, and I'm now the fifth generation in my family to be involved in the tequila industry or tequila business. The company was started by my great-great-grandfather back in the 1900s in the little town of Tequila, Jalisco. The word tequila actually means land of working people, because before that, tequila was actually called vino de mezcal, wine mezcal. If you look at bottles over 100 years old, the labels would say vino de mezcal, hecho, so made, in Tequila, Jalisco. But then eventually they said, okay, we need to change the name. Let's name it as the name of the town, Tequila, because the word mezcal means cooked agave, any spirit made out of cooked agave. So essentially, yeah, tequila is a mezcal. Just like we say all tequila is mezcal, but not all mezcal is tequila. And they said, okay, so if we're gonna make tequila, it can only be made in this region of Mexico, which is only 5 states, Jalisco being the major player, and whereas mezcal is 9 states. Right? And then for tequila, you can only use one type of agave, which is the blue Weber, whereas mezcal is it's open for all the mezcals. Right? So then that's kind of like the history of how tequila kind of got started, and my family started here in this very, very small distillery called Llano, El Llanito. Back in the days, there were no brands. Like, brands didn't exist. I mean, if you can think of 1900s, it was like the person who was made it, you know? So you would go to the Cuervo distillery because that was their family, that name, and you would buy the Cuervo Tequila, but not Cuervo because as a brand, it was Cuervo the family. Same for the Sauza, and then same for our family, you know? They were going in there, let's buy the tequila from the Orendain, so it's Tequila Orendain. And so eventually, it started very small, and then his son, Eduardo Orendain, started being more involved in the business and said, hey, we need to make this official, and Cuervo started to grow in Sauza, and so they said we need to be official as well and trademark and protect the name Orendain, and so they did. In 1926 is when the company is officially, Orendain is like officially registered and starts to legally produce tequila. My grandfather still tells me stories that he was told by his father about how they started, him driving the truck, making deliveries, then going back at night and doing some bottling and labeling at his house and having his children help. And we all started from a very, very humble beginnings. No? So after years of working, you know, thankfully, you know, they were able to be successful and grow out. And as the company grew, the family also grew, and then also the family, as the family grew, then the company got expanded and went into different directions. So some family members opened up the distilleries and went their own way. And so in the 1950s, when El Llanito was too small for Orendain and they moved to the bigger distillery, 20, 30 years later, my father and my uncle, Jaime, they decided to start running back again now the El Llanito. They decided to name their tequila Arette.
Okay, so not gonna lie, friendly little competition, see who can cut the peanut faster. The guy with the experience and the guy that's done like 5 peanuts total. So I think I can beat him, guys. I think I can beat him.
Una, dos, tres.
Shit!
What's up, Jim?
That one doesn't make the episode yet. Eduardo, so I'm learning all about the tequila process, the tequila making process, and one of the things I saw that was very interesting to me is the different baking methods. One is an autoclave, which I see here right behind us, and the other is the oven. Now, I understand that they do present different baking times, different flavors from that, but can you explain to us a little bit more about these two systems of baking the pina?
The autoclave here that we see here in the back that they're loading up right now,
Yeah.
this oven takes around 14 tons of agave, and it cooks for around 15 hours. It takes them like around 2 hours to 2 hours and a half to fill it completely up. And then we turn on the boiler that's going to create the steam, and we're going to pump in the steam for low temperature, low pressure for around 15 hours, slowly cooked it. And then next to it, we have the brick oven, which again, it also works with steam, but temperatures are going to be even lower and pressure even lower than it is in the autoclave. So we're going to have an even lower cooking. So going from 15 hours cooking in the autoclave is going to take us 48 hours in the brick oven. So more than double the time it takes more, but also the brick oven holds 40 tons. So it also holds more than double than the autoclave. So it's kind of a, yes, it takes longer to cook, but it also holds more capacity as a brick oven. The autoclave tends to be a little more crisp, more green, more herbal, more peppery. You get to get that minerality from like peppery from the tequila. Typically, at least I'm talking for Arette in a particular case. But with the brick oven, we found it to be more floral, more creamy, more full-bodied, more thick of a texture. It's not saying that one's better than the other; it's that they're just different. Tequila industry in general is highly regulated by the government agency that's called Consejo Regulador del Tequila. It stands for the CRT, and they regulate every step of the process. Huh? From our agave fields, where is it coming from? Are you using agaves from within the area that's allowed to grow the agaves? Is it registered? All your agaves that you plant and you harvest have to be registered with them. You cannot just show up with a truck of agaves and say like, hey, it's blue agave, I'm going to use it for tequila. You'll be like, wait, where's our paper? Like, where is it coming from?
So guys, we're here in the barrel room, and this is where aged tequila such as reposado, añejo, extra añejo come to age. But a little bit different from other barrels, like whiskeys and wines, is that you see on the tequila barrel, you'll see this label going across. To me, obviously I was gonna ask you for a sample, but we can't do that. But please explain to me what is it with this label here?
Yeah, Jeff, so yeah, something, you know, as we were talking about earlier, when we saw the agave coming in from the fields to the distillery, and we showed the paperwork from the agave and from the CRT, you know, the Consejo Regulador del Tequila again. Yeah. This kind of shows more of other aspects of how they regulate all the process. So they check everything in the distillery, from production, fermentation, distillery, distillation, and now going into the age as well. It's also very, very highly regulated by the CRT. Once we fill up our barrels, there always have to be an inspector from the CRT on site when you're filling up your barrels, and then he's going to seal it and sign. And if you want to open any barrel to get a sample or get a taste, you have to make an appointment. You have to call the CRT and tell them to send an inspector. An inspector has to be here on site and tell them, hey, why do they do that? Why are they so strict? They want to make sure you're not adding anything to it. You're not refilling it. Because as you know, well, we have a big angel share with tequila. You know, so it's here in Tequila Town. I mean, right now, we're in the middle of May. It's almost like 95, almost 100. It feels like it's a warm, hot day. So we have a lot of evaporation, a lot of the angel share, what they call, right? Tequila, it is not permitted to refill your barrels. If you refill them, you lose your aging.
How much would you lose in like a typical year or 2 years out of a barrel?
So typically, on average, I would say 8 to 10% a year. Yeah, and that's going to vary, obviously, from year to year. Some years, we have hotter summers, or, and obviously it has to do with your warehousing, the temperature of your warehousing, the humidity.
Eduardo, I just want to say thank you so much for taking your time out of today to teach me all about tequila. I know I learned so much, and I know everybody that's viewing this episode learned a lot too as well. Thank you so much, my friend.
Oh, thank you guys, and I hope everybody enjoys this and comes down to Tequila and visit us. Huh?
Yeah.
Salud.
Cheers. Salud.